Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder Weather here. In this update, we're going to be detailing out the next snowstorm. Plus, the severe weather threat continues to get stronger, and an Arctic blast enters the picture by the end of the month. So let's start off with the overall setup for this morning. We've got this powerful upper level low. It's digging all the way down into the southwest. It's over Phoenix, of all places, and that's the one that's going to be traversing across Texas into Oklahoma, bringing them some snow for that region. In fact, they've already got numerous winter storm watches and winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories right along that upper level low. We've got high winds taking place this morning, but the snow's flying in the interior regions. But as that continues to intensify and moves across into New Mexico, the snow is really going to be flying for that region. That will be extending into West Texas, into the Texas Panhandle, getting into Oklahoma, and that will swing across Arkansas, into Missouri, through Illinois, as well as into the Ohio Valley, and eventually head off into the mid-Atlantic states. But also they're going to deal with some heavier snows as well over the next day or so into upstate New York, getting into Vermont and New Hampshire, and heading into Maine. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. It's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. And I've also got some exciting news to share. I'm going to be starting a second channel, folks. Yes, that's right. I'm going to be starting a second channel. In fact, it's called POW Ponder Ultra. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'll have this link below, but it's going to be dedicated towards more or less detailed short-range weather analysis and educational content. I've had a lot of people inquiring, hey, what's these graphs mean? What's the colors mean? What's the individual setup? So I'll be doing more educational videos on this channel. So I'll have the link below so you can subscribe, and I'll be starting to upload content on this channel over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So let's start off with the overall giveaway today. And I'm going to be giving away one of these free Weatherflow weather stations. It's the one I personally have actually had for the last 3 years, and I love this thing. It's all solar, and it's got an app, and it's really easy to track the weather. It's more of a set and forget it. So if you'd like to win one of these and into a drawing, you'd have to hit the like button. You got to be a subscriber to the channel, and you have to comment the keyword Ultra in the comments below. And I'll be doing a random drawing tomorrow, so check back tomorrow, and going to be announcing the winner of one of these. If you'd like to purchase one at a discount, I'll have the link also below in the description of this video. So let's get into the weather, because we've got some colder air to talk about this morning. It's starting to feel like winter in some of these places. That's where the upper level low is this morning over the Arizona area, 25 degrees. In fact, even into Texas, they woke up with a chilly morning as much colder conditions. We've been dealing with really warmer conditions really for the last 3 weeks. So we're starting to see the trend of kind of the step down process of much colder air. And I think it really starts to intensify and get much colder by the end of the month. So, but let's really break down this overall snowstorm going into tomorrow morning. So that's where things really start to get active. That's why they have the winter storm warnings out in place into New Mexico, as the snow is really going to be flying in that region as you wake up tomorrow morning, and then can be really flying into the West Texas area, places like in the Lubbock, places like in the Amarillo area. But further to the south, that's a chilly rain, folks, and a welcome rain. These areas have been really bone dry, especially out there in West Texas. So this is a good sign to see this kind of chilly rain to really enter the picture by tomorrow morning. But as we get into the afternoon, whoo, it really starts to intensify, folks. We could be hearing a lot of thunder, claps of thunder, especially into central Texas. The further south you get, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about some severe storms. So it's all three gamuts on the table with severe storms. And then we've got heavy snow breaking out of the Texas Panhandle. That moves across into the Oklahoma area, Norman, Oklahoma City, those areas. We'll see a good amounts of snowfall for this setup, as this cold core will continue to traverse across the state. It'll lower some of these temperatures as well as we get deeper into the afternoon, but down to the further south into the southeast, it's all about the severe weather threat, guys. And unfortunately, this has yet intensified again. So we have yet another enhanced risk for severe storms on your day on Tuesday down there in and around the Lake Charles area, New Orleans, back into Mobile, even further south into Houston, back into Victoria. They could be looking at some damaging winds as well, and up further north back into Jackson, get it into parts of Birmingham, as well as into the Montgomery area. But unfortunately as well, those tornadoes have increased the possibility. They already have another 10% hatched risk for strong tornadoes potentially. So we're looking at areas of concern along the upper Texas central Gulf Coast around Tuesday afternoon, spreading into parts of southeastern Louisiana and Mississippi through southwestern Alabama and western Florida panhandle. Those storms would accompany some very damaging winds, and unfortunately we could be looking at tornadoes and even strong tornadoes. That's why they've got those hatched risk in place. So yes, we've got severe weather that's really is getting stronger, and then we've got the snowstorm that's intensified as well. So let's really break this down for you and kind of zoom in into the Texas and Oklahoma area as this system comes across, right? This is about 7 o'clock on Tuesday. This is the snow's been flying all day up there in Amarillo into Lubbock, 30 degrees in Lubbock, 29 Amarillo, 32 at Childress, Elk City, 32, Oklahoma City. So you notice the temperatures will actually come down as the low will be moving across as the snow flies. And as it does, it's going to go through a process called dynamic cooling, which able to drag down some of that colder air, will knock those temperatures down and right at the freezing mark. And where it's all based on this upper level low, they'll be traversing across essentially northwest of the DFW Metroplex, right along the Graham area into Sherman, points northbound into Oklahoma City. But notice further south, say into Plano. I mean, with 36 degrees, that's a sharp gradient and just a couple of degrees difference of that transition to just kind of an all rain to a rain snow mix, and then just all snow the further north, closer you get to that, freezing mark. But yeah, let's look at 7 o'clock because things are going to be really bumpy. Further south, it's all about the severe weather. I think it ends in the Houston Metroplex by then, but it'll be locked over Louisiana, back into Mississippi, getting into the south parts of Arkansas. But to the north of there, it's all about the heavier snows right along that gradient where that upper level low will transfer back into Oklahoma, into Arkansas, and further south on the backside of this system. You saw the temperatures across the Metroplex and DFW. I think that will transfer over to some of a kind of a rain snow mix. And of course, further north you live, say in the Sherman area, along the Red River, back into Wichita Falls, points northbound, the heavier snows that will be, but you should transfer to all snow, at least a rain snow mix, in and along north of the I-25, I-20 corridor, as you'll start to see snowflakes fall out of the sky by the time we get into that 7 o'clock time frame. But as we go into midnight, that stops. The game's over as far as the snow in Texas. It's all going to be east of into portions of Oklahoma, locked over Arkansas by then, transferring over into southern portions of Illinois and Indiana, getting into Kentucky. Notice the sharp gradient where it really drops off to just an all rain is just where that upper level low will track. So it's going to miss out in Tennessee. It's going to miss out on the southern portions of Arkansas. It's going to be all rain in Mississippi and Alabama. In fact, it's going to be having that severe threat continuing even into the midnight hour. So it's going to be a long bumpy ride into the evening time frame, starting off in the afternoon through the evening time frame, extending into the overnight, heading into the Birmingham, Alabama, into the midnight time frame. As we get into Tuesday night, head into Wednesday morning. As you wake up on Wednesday morning, there's the snow. Will be over portions of Missouri by then. It'll be locked over essentially southern and central parts of Illinois, and then Indiana and Ohio, and then it's just all rain back into Kentucky, Tennessee, and point southbound into the southeast, getting into Georgia, into the South Carolina, North Carolina. I think the storms really start to die out and have more of a kind of a damaging squall line by then. But I'm not really concerned about what the severe threat, because it is going to be 6 o'clock in the morning by then, as things really start to calm down as far as the severe threat goes down further south. But look at where we're at by 1 o'clock. So this is by 1 o'clock on Wednesday, the 25th. There's the snow. So you'll start to see a little bit of snow, not as heavy as you're going to get in the central and southern parts, but it could transfer to some snow back into northern parts of Illinois, getting into the northern side of Indiana and Ohio, going into portions of PA, heading into upstate New York, where you do have the storms even less of a threat as they continue to shift further east, heading along the coast, east coast here, eventually getting out to shore. But here's the latest guidance from the HRRR model. I kind of showed you the temperature. So this is where the storm is going to be originate into portions of New Mexico, get into the Texas Panhandle, across West Texas, traversing across northwest of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You'll start to have kind of a rain-snow mix in places into the Dallas area, but further north you live in the Metroplex, you're going to be picking up some heavier snow amounts in some of these areas. Yeah, you might even not look at 10-to-1 ratios, but even at 7-to-1 ratios, you're still looking at some pretty decent amounts. I mean, I know areas that out in West Texas, north of Lubbock, 6 to 8 inches is definitely not out of the question. Places into Oklahoma City's likely 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. Even points along the Red River, right along that upper level low, you could have places that definitely overperform. And a lot of these regions heading into portions of Red River areas, into portions of eastern Oklahoma, getting into northwestern Arkansas, southern portions of Missouri, and then lighter amounts as you extend over portions of Kentucky there, getting into southern portions of the Ohio Valley. And then as we extend the view and head out east, the lighter amounts will continue to further northeast you go. So you'll still have a pretty good swath that comes across Missouri and the southern parts of Illinois, but lighter amounts, 3 to 5 inches across Indiana and through Ohio, portions of PA, and then getting even lighter as you extend further north into the northeast, heading into Massachusetts, getting into southern portions of Vermont, New Hampshire, back into Maine regions as that snowstorm kind of winds down. But as you wake up on Thursday, there's the temperature. So it's going to be a step down process kind of all week long, dragging down some of that colder air. It gets a little bit colder each day. Down to the southeast, you're still going to be dealing with that southeast ridge and really much along the east coast here, as some of that colder air will continue to drain from north to south. But as we get into Sunday, you can start to really see the effects of where that Arctic air, it's building up in all week long in Canada, where they're seeing those dangerous cold temperatures. As you wake up on Sunday morning, the 29th, yeah, these are actual temperatures, folks. We could be looking at almost 20 below zero up there in Montana, getting into Minnesota with widespread teens below zero, even dipping down as far south as South Dakota, getting into Nebraska with those single digits. So that's definitely a sign of that Arctic air really entering the picture. Notice the southeast, you're still fairly on the warm side with that southeast ridge continue to be locked over that place. But a significant change in the teleconnections has that indication that Arctic air is eventually going to head southbound, because the EPO guidance really takes a negative dip. In fact, a -5 deviation, that's a strong indication that it's got a lot of push in the upper atmosphere, and it's going to be heading southbound in a big way. By the time we get to that 29th, that showed you the temperatures up there in Montana of 20 below zero, that colder air will start to get further south into the central US and eventually head southbound into portions of the south again, while it's going to be fighting that southeast ridge the entire way. So that's going to be an interesting setup as we get into the end of the month, because we're still going to have these warmer temperatures with these warmer air aloft, pulling in from the Gulf, right? As the Arctic air will continue to press. So we'll start to set up a kind of a winter battle zone in a lot of these areas, where we could be looking at some icy setups going into these battle zone areas. And I do feel the rains also come back for the West Coast as well. So you'll have a drying period for the rest of the week, but I feel like by the end of the month, much of the west coast will be starting to enter the rain picture again, and then snows will be flying into the interior regions. And yes, as we get into those first couple of days of February, we're really going to have to be concerned of more icy type setups, with that winter battle zone really starting to take shape as the Arctic air will continue to press, as the rains will continue out west and the snows fly into the interior regions of Idaho and to Montana there. We're going to have to be concerned about this battle zone really starting to take shape. But most of the ensembles from the Canadian, the GFS, and the European all have this on board, especially with the teleconnections going much further south. You see, by the third of the month, very, very intense Arctic air is down in the US as the colder air continues to plunge and starts to take over, fighting that southeast ridge the entire way. So once we get deeper into those first couple of days of February, I think eventually that southeast ridge will eventually lose out. But we're going to have to be dealing with some icy probably setups further south as well, as the Arctic air will continue to plunge. So that time frame is going to be definitely interesting. So I'll be fine tuning that on this channel. So hey guys, I appreciate your support. Definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update, where I protect you before and after the storm.